Welcome back to The Struggle is Real.
Woo!
We are back with season 2 and with some changes. The first thing you might notice is there's a person sitting right next to me.
Hey.
Eric, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm the new co-host. I'm joining Ryan and Mahalia in this podcast. Gonna have a lot of fun.
Yes, so Eric is joining us as a co-host for The Struggle is Real. And we've been on a hiatus for what feels like forever.
That's right.
Things got really crazy with school, and it was just really hard to upkeep with doing the episodes. So we went on a little bit of a hiatus. But now that we are all graduates,
Hey!
Oh my gosh,
Finally! Finally!
we are back with a vengeance. Obviously, we have a new digital platform. We're going to be posting on YouTube regularly. And then you can also, follow us on Apple Podcasts and all of those other platforms.
Hey. It's gonna be fun.
We're going global.
Global.
Yeah.
That's a big word,
We are.
Ryan.
We're going global. So with season 2, we're going to be talking about just different aspects of the industry. When we first did season 1, we were kind of focused on school and the experience of SCAD. Season 2 is going to focus on the struggles of the average filmmaker and how we can overcome these hurdles as first-time filmmakers. So whether you are a film student, a first-time filmmaker, or you're really interested in the filmmaking industry, this podcast is definitely going to be for you. And we're going to bring on more people to interview. So we're going to bring in people from directors, writers, producers, all mainly from Atlanta. We're going to definitely branch out to some international people as well, so stay tuned for that. But not just directors and writers and producers. We're going to talk to stunt coordinators. We're going to talk to set medics. We're going to talk to actors. Mm-hmm. We have so much lined up for you guys for season 2, and we're really excited for what we have planned. So stay tuned for that.
That's right. Excited, Ryan?
Hell yeah, I'm excited.
I'm glad. We're also going to highlight filmmakers of color and female filmmakers. I think that's something that we're all passionate about, and I'm excited for this season too.
Yes. This is going to be a fun season, guys. You guys are not ready for what's about to happen.
No, you're not.
Ooh.
So let's talk about what's happening in the world right now. Because I feel like we can't really dive in to our interview or anything without prefacing what the hell is going on.
Right.
So, COVID-19. Ha 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 ha.
Ew.
So much fun.
Ay.
God, I hate COVID. Sorry.
I know. It's just so we've been trapped in our home for like how many months? Like I think
3,
since
4?
March,
March?
right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, March.
Because it came like right towards the end of February.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
right.
And we got lucky because we filmed all of our thesis during that between January through right before March.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And a lot of people couldn't film their thesis.
Yeah, we have
There's
a lot
of
friends.
people who had to put productions on hold because of it. Obviously, our condolences go out to anyone who has suffered from COVID-19, whether that be financially or your family members have suffered from it. I know my family works in the industry. My dad was diagnosed with COVID-19, and he's a respiratory therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
So he was diagnosed, but he's fine, luckily.
Okay. Wow.
He's fine. The only symptom he had was a cough. And he's still able to work and still like contribute and help other people. So shout out to all the healthcare workers.
Shout out, you guys are the
MVP,
beast.
MVP.
Healthcare workers,
Amazing.
first responders, our grocery store employees, just the people who make every day bearable for us.
That's
the
right.
non-essential employees. Thank you for, your service and your time and stuff because it's shitty.
Yeah.
It's
It'll be
shitty.
horrible, for
It's
sure.
shitty.
For sure.
And just so you guys know, we are following social distance standards here at The Struggle is Real.
That's right. I mean,
We are not 6 feet apart, however.
but we have been together forever because of production, so do not worry.
And
You're
all of this
safe.
has been wiped down. We're all good. Just so you guys know, in case you were worried.
But I guess quarantine has been kind of hard creatively.
Yeah.
Being stuck in a place, at least for me, mainly a writer. my inspiration comes from having conversations and research. So not being able to talk to people, I guess, outside of my home, it's the biggest struggle as a creator or a creative.
Yeah, I'm definitely the type of person to like go to like a coffee house and sit down and get work done. So
Yeah,
being forced to work from home has been a challenge for me.
it's a forced vacation. It's not fun.
Yeah. But I think the challenges has helped us grow as filmmakers because you kind of you're forced to get creative within your own space, you know,
With
and
the elements that you have.
exactly. So, especially when it comes to storytelling, like moving forward with production, how can we continue to tell our stories while still being safe?
Yeah.
And then this was a really good time for writing. I know personally, Eric and I have gotten like 2 or 3 pilots written.
Yeah.
We have a feature idea already beat it out and ready to rock and roll. So it's been good creatively. At first it was a struggle, but now it's
getting
it's
used
good.
to it.
And it also helped spark the fire for Struggle is Real because we were all sitting at our houses going,
I'm like, oh my gosh, wow,
this is
so
a perfect
bored.
time to interview people. This is a really good time to like get a jump start on the Struggle is Real. And so quarantine kind of helped bring us back.
Exactly. Ryan, do you have anything to share about quarantine?
No, quarantine. I hope the health professionals find a cure for the virus as soon as possible because, yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough.
Yeah, I think we will all have to
stuck at
go
home.
back to reality with this, with the healthy guidelines.
Right.
And with masks trying to be as clean as possible because I think this is gonna be our new normal for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah,
So
Yeah.
everybody be safe and healthy.
And other current events that have been happening, right, are the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff, which we stand in solidarity
Yes, we are.
with. So
Yes, we are.
Yep.
Look at us.
So
If you're not, this is not the podcast for you.
This isn't something we're gonna debate. We stand with Black Lives Matter. So, But that's something that's been happening all across the nation. It's been a very interesting time emotionally as people of color. And that I think that's also affecting how we tell our stories now. Like what's been happening has definitely sparked a fire within us for the feature that we have. Beat it out and stuff. It's a crazy feature. But that we would love to share with you guys once it's, more concrete. But yeah, we just wanted to acknowledge what was happening in the world because I think it's important to do that because we don't want to gloss over anything. We don't want to downplay the struggles of other people during this time. So just know that these events have been acknowledged.
Yeah, and it's important for us as filmmakers because I don't know, at least for me, I think that filmmaking has always been a platform to talk about topics and issues, and a lot of times we just see it as entertainment, but stuff as the issues, as the movement, as the Black Lives Matter is so important that we really need to pay attention to this because this is the cry of our people,
Yeah.
A sector of our community is suffering so much, and I think it's time that we start acknowledging it as a community, as filmmakers.
Right.
And I'm interested to see how the industry changes because of everything that's happened. I'm interested, like 2020 has flipped the world on its head. And I think even though we are going through such really difficult times, I think a year or two from now, we're going to see some really powerful, really moving stories coming from these places of hardship.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what people have creatively to depict what's happening right now. And of course, our condolences go out to the family of George Floyd, Ahmaud Berry, and Breonna Taylor, who should not have all lost their lives, but unfortunately did. And to the other victims who I didn't name. But yeah, I'm interested to see what stories come from this.
Yeah, and I also think that about the thing about how the industry is changing, who are we going to see now bringing those conversations to the table? Like, for example, Ava DuVernay now joins the the
The
Oscars.
Oscars,
Yes,
yeah.
that's important because you have a woman of color, a black woman who gonna see stories, not only stories from the black community, but stories from the Hispanic, Latino, Asian community that have value in our conversations.
Right.
So I think that's important to have people of color in the table so they can acknowledge all those various stories, because usually it's just us selling stories to judges who maybe won't understand or not as I don't like this word as much, but woke, quote unquote,
Right.
woke. Because now you have people who actually understand stories,
Yeah.
you know.
And there was a wave of people on Twitter, different writers who work in TV
Yes, that
and
was
film,
crazy.
and they were posting,
amazing.
"Hey, black writers, if you have a pilot, please send it to us to read."
That was crazy.
And that
amazing.
the solidarity in the film community that we've seen has been it's been overwhelming, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna get opportunities that they probably would have never gotten because of this.
Exactly. I think that's great.
Yeah. So interested to see what happens a year from now.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think it's time for us to introduce our guest. So what we're gonna do, because we're practicing social distancing standards, we're gonna interview our guest on Zoom. And our guest today is Natasha Sequeira. And Natasha actually went to school with us. But I'm going to read her bio for you guys so you guys have a full view of who she is. But Natasha is an Anglo-Indian writer, director, and producer. She graduated from MOP Vaishnav College for Women in Chennai, India, with a bachelor's degree in electronic media. She has also previously worked in the Kollywood film industry and has an editor for a children's educational publishing company. Her passion for all things film and television led her to pursue her MFA in film and television at the Savannah College of Art and Design here in Atlanta. And since her enrollment from fall 2017, she has written, directed, and produced in varying capacities over 20 short films, brand films, music videos, fashion films, and more. She is set to make her directorial debut with her thesis film, Beyond Customs, which is scheduled to enter festival circuits in 2020. She actually just submitted last week, so congratulations to Natasha, along with 4 other short films that she is producing. So that is Natasha. And I would also like to preface this by saying Natasha was also the producer for my thesis film, Chocolate Thunder. And now Natasha currently works as the production coordinator at Trey Native, which is an award-winning, production company here in Atlanta. So she's definitely had a lot of experience, and I think it would be fun to talk to her.
That's right.
All right.
Very great.
So let's call Natasha. Well, thank you, Natasha, for being here today.
Of course. I don't have a choice. I live here.
You do.
Wow.
Just so the viewers know, we're roommates. But we are following social distance standards, so she's in the other room while we're in here. So thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We just read your bio, but tell our listeners about yourself.
Okay. So I'm from India, and I'm from a little coastal city called Chennai. And I started my career in film in 2013 when I did my undergrad in electronic media. So I did my undergrad for 3 years in electronic media, and then I took a hiatus, and I went into copy editing and publishing for a children's educational publishing company for about a year and a half, till I found SCAD. It just so happened that I came to the U.S. on a summer vacation for my 18th birthday, actually. And on my last day here, my aunt suggested that, I go look at SCAD, see if I liked the program and if I was interested in film as a career. I did. I fell in love with it. I went back home October 2016. I applied to SCAD. I heard nothing for the next 6 months, and I was like, this is it. My career is over. I should just go back to editing. Just never mind. Till May 2017, when I got an email saying, hey, guess what? We're coming to Chennai and we'd like to meet you. And I was like, oh God, they're coming here. So anyway, I went in for the interview, and by God's grace, I got in. I got a scholarship, and it was such a weird period of time for me, because within 72 hours I got my visa, and 2 months later I was headed on a plane for the US. And I was like, whoa, this is going to be so exciting. For the first time, I will have no curfew, no rules. I'm an adult. Jump cut to 2 months later, and I was like, oh God, I want to go home. The food sucks. This is not the vacation I thought it was going to be. But I did go home. I went for winter break. 2 weeks in, I realized that I'd grown so much at SCAD with the people I'd met, with the things that I was learning, that Chennai wasn't going to cut it for me anymore. So I came back, and I've been here for the last 3 years, developing my network, creating content, and I've produced over 25 short films, over 40 pieces of short form content, and now I'm working as a production coordinator at Trey Native.
That's
Congratulations.
amazing,
Thank you.
Such a rock star. So what exactly got you interested in film?
So this goes all the way back to when I was in the 5th grade, and I started writing short stories. I'm an avid reader. I've always been a huge fan of Enid Blyton.
We can tell by your bookcase in the back.
Yes, my Percy Jackson collection is back there. So as you can tell, I love fiction. So yes, so I was always reading and writing short stories, poetry, and things like that. And I was a student reporter. Eventually, I was on the editorial board of my school magazine. And from then on, I just realized that I loved telling stories, especially because that's what I used the most to stay out at night. I would spin a yarn. It very handy. Eventually I realized that I wanted to see my written work translate to screen. And when I found the course at SCAD, it encapsulated everything I wanted to know about filmmaking. Fun fact, favorite film, Lion King, because animals.
Oh my gosh. For those of you who don't know, Natasha has an animal obsession.
Yes,
she has
does.
Fostered
It's unhealthy.
several rabbits, and now we're currently fostering a puppy named Ember. Yeah, Natasha has an obsession with animals. But so in your bio, you stated that you worked in Kollywood. Can you tell our listeners what is Kollywood exactly, and what was that experience like for you?
Sure. So Kollywood is the Tamil cinema industry, and Tamil is the local language of South India. Being an Anglo-Indian, my first language is English. I am multilingual. I speak both Tamil, Hindi, which is the northern language of the northern region, and English is my first language. Because I went to media school in South India for my undergrad, I was required to do an internship with any local companies, and I just so happened to land one with Star Vijay, which is a regional television company back in India. And I worked on a couple of TV shows. One was a medical show, which brought in doctors every week, and we had guest audiences from around India come in and talk about their medical health issues and would get free advice and consultation. I was part of one of the episodes where we brought in veterinarians, and we had a bunch of
course you were. Of course you were.
We had a bunch of animals on set. I had my dog there as well. It
Of course
was
you did.
a crazy day because this was early on in my career, so I didn't anticipate how exhausting it was going to be to wrangle animals on set. And my dog especially was not having it. It was just too many people, bright lights, the heat. And that's where I got my first dose of what it's like to produce for a live set. Yeah, so basically I worked on one of those, and there was also another show we shot both shows on the same studio lot on the same soundstage, just two different halves of it. And we would go from 5 a.m. in the morning to 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
The next morning. Yeah, and because we shot only on weekends, and we would shoot two episodes a day for each show.
And wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was extremely rigorous. And then Monday to Friday, we would all sit down in the writer's room and pitch ideas of who we were going to bring in for the weekend, and start reaching out to guest audiences. And it was a very interesting time because there were a lot of people who would come in from villages across India. So they would travel for like a day or two just to come to set and be a part of this.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. And then there was like a huge mess hall, and then like everybody would be served like lunch, dinner, and then get back to set. And it was such an exhilarating experience because you get to meet all these people from across the country that you normally wouldn't. And they're just coming here to share their experiences and be a part of this television show. So for me to have the opportunity to work behind the scenes of it gave me this adrenaline rush. And that's when I decided that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Because you've been on set in India and on set in America, what are the differences that you find between being on an international set versus being on an American set? Like, how does that, are like the rules the same? Like, what's the difference?
Rules? What rules?
Stop.
Ignore us, please. Just do not listen to that.
No, but talk about that. Like, what is that like?
No, for real. The organization and standards that a lot of sets here are held to, the standard that they held up to, even right from student sets, is very different from what we had back in India. I will say this: in India, it's more chaotic because, again, being cost efficient and extremely thrifty people, we try to get a lot done.
Damn, Natasha, way to play the stereotype.
It's true though. It's no kidding. I saw this firsthand. That's why we booked the studio for 2 days, and we shot everything we could in those 48 hours. And the rest of the time was spent in an office just planning for those 48 hours, because there wasn't a moment that we wasted on, like, you know how you would have like the meal breaks for a half hour, 45 minutes to an hour. There, you work in shifts. You've got like A team going in and working on the cameras while B team breaks for lunch.
Oh, wow.
So on and
so it's
forth.
constantly like a rolling set.
Yeah, nobody stops.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
constantly a rolling set. There's no time to waste. So I will say we're very efficient.
That's crazy. And since you have like a lot of experience in India and here in America, what's your best experience so far on set?
When I was on set in India, I was just starting out, so I didn't know a lot. Didn't know as much as I do today. Also because, as I said, I was working in Kollywood and I couldn't read Tamil. I can speak the language, but I couldn't read scripts, and that was a huge drawback for me, which was why I couldn't choose to continue to work there. It made everything a little harder because being able to understand the language being able to read it, and I couldn't write in the language either. It I felt a little bit left out because there were so many things, so many ideas that I wanted to bring to the show that I couldn't translate.
Right.
Being in America has given me that outlet. It's given me the opportunity to be able to discuss with my peers, be able to write, converse in the language I know best, and just be able to put my best foot forward to be able to express my ideas the way I want to be able to.
Yeah.
You'll have to forgive my ignorance on this, but my question is for you. As a woman, did you feel like you were facing more hurdles than anyone when you were in India, as versus your male counterparts? Like, did gender play a factor in like your work experience and how you experience set?
For sure. The college that I went to was now, to give you some background, the city that I'm from, Chennai, is one of the 4 big metropolitan cities in India. My college was the only one that offered film as a major. And we were only 35 girls to a batch. I went to an all-women's college. We were only 35 girls to a batch. And even when I worked on these sets, I was one of 6 women on a 40-member team.
Wow.
The other 3 of the other members being friends of mine who were also students. So there were essentially only 2 women who were a part of the permanent team.
Oh, wow.
And the reason being that India being such a conservative country, South India being extremely conservative, as I mentioned earlier, we would shoot from 5 a.m. to 3 a.m. Women weren't really, it wasn't looked upon well for us to be out in the middle of the night like that.
Right.
When I was doing my undergrad, I was, 17, 18. And my family did not like the idea of 4 girls driving around to set in the middle of the night and coming back in the wee hours of the morning. It was just not considered safe at all. So of course, when I wanted to do film as my film for my master's in America, my family was like, no.
Definitely not.
Grounded till you're 40. But my grandmom and my uncle were extremely encouraging, and they knew that, because again, as a woman in India, your choices are to be either a doctor, an engineer, or a chartered accountant, none of which I wanted to be.
That is so similar to Haitian households. It is, you're a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, maybe business. Anything other than that, blasphemy.
Exactly. And film? Have you watched Kollywood and Bollywood films? No. Like, just forget it. So, getting parental approval was one hurdle in getting here and getting to where I am today. But I had a vision, I had a dream to see the stories that I was writing, see them through, want to be able to have creative control over their production, development, and just be able to tell South Indian stories on the silver screen. I was tired of going to movies and not seeing people like me. I think one of the people I look up to most is Priyanka Chopra, and of course Mindy Kaling, because they have been trailblazers in the work they've done. And I went down, I think yesterday or day before, I went down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out how many South Indian women, or just Indian women in general, have been able to make their mark in Hollywood, and there were like 4.
Wow.
That's a miserable number for a country of like billions of people. So that just fueled the fire in me even more to want to be able to tell our stories.
Yeah.
So, especially because for me, I come from a very mixed background of I'm South Indian, but I'm also Anglo-Indian. And
That's right. Your father's father was Portuguese.
yeah, so I have like French, Portuguese, British, and Dutch history in my roots.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot tell you how many times I've been told or asked by people here, "Oh, how long have you been in the U.S.?" And I thought it's just like, oh, because I mentioned I'm a student and I haven't been here very long. But no, it's because the follow up to that, the statement would always be, "Oh, how do you speak such good English?"
English, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's my first language.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess as a woman of color, since you were specifically talking about people like Priyanka Chopra and Mindy Kaling, what exactly do you think that the film industry should do to amplify those voices? Mm-hmm. Because we are seeing, like you said, only 4 women of Indian background, let's say, but in a country that you have such a diversity and such a diverse voices, how do you think that the film industry should act to amplify those voices? Because right now, I don't think they're doing too much for that. So,
and there seems to be a specific idea of how people portray India.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Which obviously isn't accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, absolutely. I think one of my favorite portrayals so far has come very recently in Mindy Kaling's Never Have I Ever.
I've watched a couple episodes of it and I love it.
So good. So honest. Like the mom, I think her name was Purna Jagannathan. Her portrayal of an Indian mom is my mom. Like every time she got angry, I would start getting anxious. I'd be like, oh,
this is happening, PTSD.
And I told everybody I know, like, if you want to know what my life was like growing up in India, you need to watch that show, because the PTSD that comes out of it, let me tell you. But I think we need more, well, I mean, of course, I know we're talking about women of color across the board, but again, just being able to see films like this be told by an Indian woman with
Mm-hmm.
the honesty and the accurate representation of who we are. And I love that throughout the show, they speak perfect English, because let's face it, we were colonized by the British. Who else to learn English from? And there were little bits of Tamil spoken in the show, which up until I watched it, I didn't realize how happy it made me to hear a familiar language while I'm in an unfamiliar place. And I feel like that show just spoke to me, because Maitri Ramakrishnan, as a South Indian girl growing up in LA, and talking about her experiences, and just it's this clash of growing up in a conservative household in an unconservative country.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I can tell you, and I think I've told you before, just the culture shock of some things I've seen here have scarred me for life. But it's completely normal, apparently. But I know that if I were to stay here and have a family, these are the kind of things that my children are going to grow up with. And I want them to see strong female figures that look like them on screen, telling the stories that they experience, because that's the best way to connect with your audience, is show them on screen.
Yeah.
Very true.
And sorry, I know I deviated from your question of what should they...
No, what you said was extremely important, and exactly the kind of thing that I think the industry needs right now. Is we need several portrayals of various cultures. There's not just one general stereotype of one culture. We need to see perspectives from all across the board, because there's an audience for it. There's a market for it. And I think Hollywood now is starting to come to this awakening of, oh, yeah, there are other people in the world who pay to see movies and would like to be represented on screen. Cool, we should do that.
Right? I mean, this is a country with a population problem, you have no problem getting viewers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially on platforms like Netflix and Hulu, you will have someone watch it.
Completely true.
What has been your best experience on set here in America? Since you have produced almost over 40 short form content, what was your favorite one of all? I'm assuming it has to do one with animals or Christmas trees.
I need to have a movie with both in it. That would be ideal.
If anybody has a script that involves animals and Christmas, please find Natasha so she can produce it for you. That would be her dream.
Be careful.
Air Buddies Christmas or something. Because then you have 8 puppies.
There you go.
Oh jeez.
Oh no.
Oh jeez.
All the puppies.
That's hard to say because every set I've been on has taught me so much, and with each set I'm like, oh wow, that was a really nice thing to learn. Great. For the next set, I'll be prepared. No. Because there's just new problems all the time that you can't
anticipate.
For. No.
You can't anticipate.
I think some of the ones that come to mind in most recent memory are Sonorous, Chocolate Thunder, Beyond Customs, UGG, Distant. Distant was a very interesting one because it was shot cross-continentally. Part of it was shot in India and part of it was shot here. So just being able to seamlessly weave those together without losing the core of the story was an interesting time. Sonorous was interesting in that I've worked with an entire cast who was Latino, and right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Good job. Good job.
Sonorous is my film.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm being authentic as possible, but and just with oh my god, with UGG, we were shooting in a cave in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And that was the first time working with pyrotechnics.
That was my first time with pyrotechnics, with costumes that we had to get specially tailored for this. And I think the moment the RV showed up on set was when I was like, oh boy, this is a big one.
Yeah, so for the viewers who are listening, UGG is a short story about 2 cavemen, right? And one of them is trying to remember how to make fire. And so we shot in a cave for 2 days, and we needed to rent an RV because there were no bathrooms. We were kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we had to have like a generator. It was a crazy thing, but that was fun.
Going downhill, up the hill, into the cave.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I lost like 10 pounds on that film, I swear to God. I mean, it was an amazing experience. And we will be interviewing the director, Michael Bolger, soon. So we'll talk more about that film. But that was a fun experience.
It was a fun experience. Logistically, it was probably, until that point, one of the films that I had to really sit down and prepare for weeks in advance, because just coordinating catering in the middle of nowhere,
the
RV, electricity, and
that's crazy.
A crew of like cast and crew of about 25 people was exhausting, but so exhilarating. And just seeing everything come together and everything pulled off so well. Also, of course, student film, so budget, keeping accounts for that, and just, I think that's where I developed my Indian genes of like bargaining kicked in. Let me tell you,
those are the brown jeans. We got it too. The Hispanics got it too. Don't worry, I got you. Those are the brown jeans.
Right? I negotiated.
Natasha wanted a shirt that said "Brown girls keep the budget down."
I still plan to have that. I still because
we'll put it in our merch store.
because because I literally made a spreadsheet of how much money I saved Michael, and I was like, this is how much you owe me.
Oh.
But it's okay. You don't have to pay me now. We'll just put this towards the pet fund.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, jeez.
I had the most fun time just coordinating that. And after that came Sonorous and Chocolate Thunder. Sonorous had an ensemble cast of 1 billion people. No, it was.
It's only
That's
8,
Erik's
right?
film.
It was only 8.
It's so tell them about your film. a
Yeah,
little
so
bit.
it's a musical exploring the stages of grief, and it was fun because you have an ensemble cast who was, I think, in all of the scenes together, a director who did not like musicals and wrote a musical, so it was really interesting. Oh, and a bilingual script, so that was fun.
I'm telling you, we all learned Spanish by the end of the film.
In the middle of winter.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
In
yes.
the middle of winter.
But then we have what? Chocolate Thunder.
Yeah, Chocolate Thunder with what we had 50 extras.
Yes,
Mhm.
Chocolate Thunder is my thesis film.
Yeah,
Which-
sorry, I'm just like dishing them all out right
No,
now.
you're fine.
But these have been my most fun experiences. One, because they were such diverse scripts, and every single one of them told such a wildly different story, like polar opposites. And I got to make movies with my friends. Being able to work with people who understand that you're doing what's best for their film, or sometimes no isn't a bad thing, or just being able to have that rapport and
Yeah.
build a new network with the other people who came on board
Mm-hmm.
was such a fun experience. We had so many different locations, so many different people we were constantly working with, and everyone had such creative ideas of how they wanted to pull off their films that obviously I can't go without saying Beyond Customs, my own film, was such a pleasure to work on, because even though up until that point and I had been constantly producing, to finally be in the director's seat was such a stark difference that I hated being told no. Now I was like,
I imagine.
I was the producer for that. I know. I was like, Natasha.
oh my God, I hated Erik for like 48 hours because he'd keep coming to me and be like,
Right.
we gotta roll.
We gotta
Yeah, Erik
move.
was the
Get out
AG
of
on
my
that.
face.
So Natasha, you were talking about being a director, a producer. We all know that you're a jack of all trades. You do everything. But what
Except editing.
specifically? Yeah, except editing. I'm right there with you. What is your favorite thing to do as a filmmaker?
Produce.
Produce?
Because I inevitably or invariably have an OCD, and I don't say this lightly. It's not flippant. I legitimately
She's not
do.
lying.
Not at all.
She's not.
Not at all. Can this zoom in? Not at all. Not at all.
I need to organize. Like, I need to constantly be filing paperwork or organizing shelves. My spice rack is organized in alphabetical order. It's a problem.
No.
But I love it because I know that when writers and directors bring me their scripts, all they're looking at is the creative aspect of it, and they don't care how much it's going to cost or how many people it's going to take. But that's down to me to figure it out and to do it in the most efficient way possible. And I'm all about efficiency and budget. So just being able to do the best possible job that I can to bring a director's vision to life without having to say no to many times or pick my battles is probably my favorite thing. And just being able to have, as a writer director and a producer, being able to have those creative conversations about what's possible, what isn't, what are the alternatives, because sometimes, and I've faced this with Beyond Customs as well. As a director, I was stubborn about certain things that I wanted, but I needed the creative eye of the people around me to tell me, like, this isn't the only way it has to be. There's another way. And oftentimes that way was better. It was more efficient, it was faster, and it helped me kill my darlings, but still keep the essence.
Every filmmaker's broken moment when you have to kill your darlings.
Yeah, it's horrible.
No, I remember sitting in the editing room with Michael, and there was a flashback scene in Beyond Customs that we spent 2 hours lighting, shooting, directing. It was beautiful. And then we get to the edit room and he's like, yeah, it doesn't work. Take it out.
Wow.
I was like,
my heart breaks.
No, but you don't. I was like, no, but you don't understand. This is what it means. This is what it has to say. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't work. I was like, well, you know what? You don't work.
Flip table. Walks away. I'm done.
But yeah, just being a director was a hard, bitter dosage of medicine of no, your idea isn't always the best.
But you did it. You did the film. It looks amazing. It's off to festivals now. So
amazing
good
film.
luck to you on that. And for our viewers, we'll also be dropping the trailer for Beyond Customs for you guys to see and take a look at and support. So we talked about what you've done in the past, but let's talk about what you're doing now. So now you're working as the production coordinator for Trey Native. Tell us about that experience and what that's like.
So I joined Trey Native shortly before the COVID pandemic hit, and we had so many interesting projects in the pipeline, which have been put on hold for the moment. But coming up, we're going to be producing a music video for the artist Iverson. And of course, we're still working around just making sure that sets are going to be safe and following the COVID-19 guidelines and things like that. But Trey Native has a history of producing documentaries for Spotify, like the Rap Caviar series and the Break series.
Which the Rap Caviar series is amazing. But sorry, go ahead.
And I think one of my favorite ones has been the Recall series, because it just technically and logistically it was crazy, because I think they had to shoot like 6 artists within one day, and each artist could only was only able to be there for like an hour, and they had this techno jib which was like a high speed and with a high speed motion camera, and they had to have like the artists like fall onto a bed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It was right.
So working with the masterminds behind it, David Kim and Brendan Smith, has been a very enlightening experience, learning everything that goes on behind the scenes, not just from a production standpoint of logistics, but also the legalities of getting music licensing and things like that, has been at times overwhelming, but it's opening me up to the idea of just how big this industry really is, and how many voices there are to be heard.
Awesome.
That's amazing. So, what's your favorite advice that has been given to you, and maybe that you want to share to first-time filmmakers, for first-time creators, something, to make them happy, that this is not horrible as some people paint it, because obviously us coming from families of color, immigrants, we're always try to push to be more like you were talking, be doctors, business. But what exactly do you want to say to people that maybe has been said to you in the past, to to make them focus on what they want and the futures and their hopes?
I think the one thing that keeps me going even today is something that my grandma told me, and she always told me to do what interests me, do what I love, because that's the only thing that's going to take me far, especially in a world where currently everything is upside down. We don't know what's happening from day to day. The one thing that I do know is that I'm right where I need to be, doing exactly what I want to do. And that alone gives me so much joy that I don't have the time to be depressed or upset about the things I can't control.
That's great.
Nice.
Amazing. Write it down, Ryan. Write it down for the future.
Look at him, not doing a thing.
Come on.
So we're gonna wrap this up. It's been a pleasure talking to you, but we can't let you go without first asking you, what is your favorite movie? Which I think you already mentioned, but
The Lion King. It has animals in it. Like,
Come on.
what do I need to say? But also, okay.
Yeah, come on, get deeper. You're
I was
a
going to say,
filmmaker. Come on, get deeper.
Okay. To be
Favorite live action?
Schindler's List. Well, actually, Argo.
Oh.
I remember being in undergrad, and one of the films that I actually did my thesis on Argo. It was, I think, over 300 pages, and
Oh, wow.
I've never written so much in my life about anything. But I went down such a rabbit hole of history and politics and broke down filmmaking that I wish I had a copy of it. But it was like this thick and with no pictures. And it was just text. But Argo was the first movie that literally had me sitting at the edge of my seat, terrified of whether these diplomats were going to make it out or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such an excellent, just a very, very well told story, a very well shot film. And that made me start to go back and analyze why that film made me feel the way I did. And that's when I started to study the psychology behind film. And when I say that I love Lion King, it's because it follows the beats of storytelling, beat for beat. And as a child, I was so well manipulated that I was in awe of the story. And ever since then, I've always wanted to write stories that make people feel something.
Yeah.
And even so, when the live action of Lion King came out, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because obviously one of the biggest things was their facial expressions and just the way they emoted things. But no sooner had like the intro song played, and I was in my seat with like tears coming out of my eyes, and I was.
Do you know I've never seen the live action one yet?
Really?
I haven't seen it.
You should, at least for the sake of your childhood, watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
all right.
It's a copy paste. It's nothing.
It's a copy paste.
It's the same thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like someone said, you can borrow my homework, but like change it up so
Make it
the teacher
different.
doesn't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Movie night.
I guess I know what I'm watching tonight.
Right.
All right, Natasha, thank you so much for joining us today, even though you didn't really have a choice, but thank you. Can you tell the people your social media so that way they can follow you and keep up with you and maybe ask you some questions if they have some?
Sure. My Facebook is Natasha Sequeira, spelled Sequeira. And my Instagram handle is @Tasha2014. I wasn't very creative back then. 2014 was just the year I created it in, and I was.
And it's thick.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's okay. We'll also be dropping her Instagram and all her other social medias.
That's
and
right.
Beyond Custom Trailers. You should be able to find it in the description or
And when you do
in the
find
comments.
it, if you have any puppy pictures that you would like to send me, my DMs are open. Just slide in there. Yeah.
No,
Jesus,
guys.
Natasha. We are
Stay
fostering
away.
a puppy.
Stay away, guys.
Sorry, you can never have too many puppy pictures. If you want to see puppy pictures, follow me. I'll be posting Ember.
All right. Oh, she got Ember a little struggles real hat.
Oh my God, yes, a little
should
one
be
of
our
the
mascot.
bandanas.
God. Thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
Natasha.
Thank you, Natasha.
All right. Thank you, Natasha.
We are gonna
Thank
let
you,
you
guys.
go.
Take care.
Alrighty, take care, bye.
Bye. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of The Struggle is Real.
That's right.
Season 2.
What are you doing?
Season 2. Season 2.
Ryan!
Ryan, yeah. As
Jesus,
you can
Ryan's
see.
throwing up gang signs.
What do you mean?
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. I think it's @StruggleIsReal.
Yeah.
You'll see our logo. Also, you'll find a link to our merch store. Yay!
Holla.
Mi
That's
gente,
right.
get your
We have
dinero
a merch.
ready. Got
What?
money. Come on, let's bring some Spanish into the conversation.
Ay, Dios mío. Okay. We have a merch store where you can purchase mugs, hats, t-shirts, just a whole bunch of Struggles Real paraphernalia. Please check it out. Please support us. All the proceeds go towards us maintaining this podcast and
That's
growing. So please click on the link and buy what you like. You can even customize some of the stuff. And if there's something on there that you don't see that you really want, message us and we'll find a way to get you guys whatever you want. We'll slap our logo on anything except
Ryan. Ryan is not for sale.
Wow,
Maybe.
Thank you for not selling me off.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to be releasing episodes weekly, I think every Wednesday. You'll find a new episode of Struggle is Real. So subscribe, and sign up so you can get notifications every time we drop a new episode. How do you guys want to take this out?
See you later.
Dab?
No, sorry.
Dab is coming back, baby!
Ryan.
I was trying to stall Ryan from dabbing, but I couldn't.
Oh my God.
Bring Dab back.
No, Ryan,
No.
it's dead. It's dead. It's okay. We can
Oh, man.
we can leave it in the past. It's okay.
Where it belongs.
Jesus in heaven. All right, guys. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. And stay 6 feet away from people.
Yes.
And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
You guys.
Bye.